Welcome to the Inspiring Women Collection here at A Lovely Inspiration. And this is a visual memoir series that's dedicated to honoring the voices and the contributions of remarkable women of color. And I'm your host, Layla. I'm a writer, a memoir consultant, and I'm also a real life muse who inspires women through the art of storytelling. And as a memoir consultant, I partner with visionary women to preserve their legacies, both in the spoken word and the written word. And so this series brings that memoir work that I do to life visually. So my intention is to offer wisdom that will guide and inspire women who are navigating their own seasons of growth and transformation. And so today I am honored to introduce you to an incredible guest. Joining me is Tracie Collins, a global business strategist, a speaker, and an author who has mastered a powerful two-part framework: building profitable businesses and selling them. She has built and sold multiple companies, and that distinction is what matters because most entrepreneurs, they know how to start, but Tracie knows how to finish. And she understands what makes a business valuable, what makes it scalable, and what also makes it sellable. And now she is teaching others how to do the same. She's helping them to create wealth, freedom, and a lifestyle of wellness on their own terms. And I've been following Tracie's YouTube channel for quite some time now. And what I admire most is her depth of business wisdom. She speaks from her lived experiences, and she helps you to figure out your true value as a business owner and whether you're building a real income stream or you're just funding an expensive hobby. And I also love the fact that she has pivoted and built a location independent global business. But what I guess the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that Tracie is also an author of a powerful memoir that's entitled Special Delivery: A Black Doula's American Journey. And in this memoir, she shares her rise from struggle to success and her impact on the birthing industry from the perspective of a Black and BIPOC professional. So, Tracie, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I am happy to have you on the channel. And I always like to begin these conversations by really just anchoring ourselves with the present where we are right now. Because oftentimes, I think, especially as women, it's important for us to be centered in the present because we're pulled in so many different directions. And we forget to honor the present moment or the present season that we're actually in at the moment. And so, as women, you know that we go through our different seasons. We start from the maiden when we're young in childhood, moving to the mother where you're birthing things, and then ending up in the crone season and the crone era, which I also call the crown era, our wise woman elder season. And each one of those seasons, it brings its own gifts, its own lessons, and the things that are revealed to us are really helping us along our journey. And so, in this season of your life, if you could name one person, place, or thing that is truly inspiring you right now.
Well, person, place, or thing. I would say place. And I would have to choose Vietnam. I can't wait to go. I cannot wait to go. That's one of the beautiful things about what I do. I can work from anywhere, on the globe. So I can't wait to be in Hanoi and sitting down in the little seats and just people watching. I mean, I know it sounds kind of corny, but
No, it doesn't.
that is inspirational for me to map that quest out and go.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Yes, I would love to go there. It's on my list, but I think it's really high up on your list. Because you're in a
Yeah,
different location, you're like completely in a different hemisphere. So, have you
yeah.
been to that region before?
No, no. And I'm not really like I'm not I think the places about Southeast Asia that intrigue most don't intrigue me.
Okay.
Um and for me it's about going and being a part of the country itself, so from north to south,
Mhm.
and flying from SFO, so giving me the opportunity to see my mom while I'm in the Bay, and then taking a direct flight to, I think it's Hanoi, that we would land in directly.
Okay.
and Then from there, just traveling down the coast and ending in Ho Chi Minh City, which is Saigon, and then hopping over to Cambodia. So, like, what people are most excited about, like the Malaysia
Yes,
or Thailand, like
Thailand.
that's like, yeah, it might be cool to go, but that's not where I like. That's not where I'm starting, and that's not what drives me. I do watch or consume content on Vietnam quite often,
Mhm.
so that is something that gives me something to look forward to. I always say people need something to look forward to because it's good for your mental health.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So I guess you'll be country hopping pretty soon. If
That's
you
the
do,
plan.
let
That's
me
the
know.
plan. That's the plan. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so that is amazing. You have what the place that's inspiring you right now. And so I guess without further ado, let's go ahead now that we've kind of known like what's your inspiration. Let's get to know you a little bit better. If you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and really how you became to be the woman that you are today.
A lot of error, a lot of trial and error, a lot of forward movement, and really having a core understanding of my reason why. And being a mom of three children who are now adults, it's that has always been my driving force and a reason why I've always wanted to have my work speak for me. So when people were to meet me or come or encounter me, they will already know that my work is making a difference. And it doesn't matter which medium I use, is always to move forward women, primarily Black women, because I am one.
Perfect. And so if you could, I know that your business is primarily located in, well, you are in Mexico currently, and your business is global. So how did you even get to the point where you have become a global business strategist as far as your origin story? That would be more of along the lines of like what we would want to know.
I don't like boxes. I don't. I was telling somebody earlier today, I was our leader group who meets every Tuesday. In my leader group, I was saying I'm the pivot queen because one of the leaders in the space was talking about, I'm getting ready to, I need to pivot, Tracy. I said, well, I'm the pivot queen because I've exited companies and countries and I just don't like boxes. I am not one to subscribe to complacency because it, creates a life of being stagnant, and I never wanted to be that way. I always wanted to grow and evolve. And I stumbled into entrepreneurship and I did not know what I was walking into when I walked into it in the year 2000. And had I known, I would have, I don't know what I would have done differently, but I just wish I would have knew that that's what it was. Like there was a word put towards it. I just thought I would, get this particular certification and then I would just automatically attract clients, not knowing there is a system and steps even back then and networking that you had to apply to even be seen and position yourself. And I did. I did that. I have a long history of, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to be a boss at it. And I'm going to be the best damn one that you will encounter and have a real a presence in the industry. And so I did that in the Bay. And then when I moved to Atlanta, well, I did it in more than one way in California. So in the health and wellness industry, I was one of the top performers in that, in my industry. And I was, having like 13 clients a month, which is unheard of for the kind of work that I did in that in the birthing space, because normally like 2 to 4 is customary, but my highest month was 13, and I made every single last birth. And one time I had 3 in 24 hours. And I was all over the Bay Area. And so and I also got a mayoral proclamation for my work in arts and entertainment. And so I have my own day in the city of Oakland. And it's centered around the sex trafficking epidemic in Oakland, and it being the largest in the Western Hemisphere at the time. So, like, I always got to like glass ceilings. And so when I moved to Atlanta, I was a fish out of water. I didn't know anybody. And I was in the process of not only expanding my team in Oakland because I still had that business, but also handing it over or selling it or exiting that because I was in the midst of creating a national company. And I just rinsed and repeat, but on a larger scale. I created something where I found there was a hole in the marketplace that catered to Black and BIPOC women in particular. And then as a result, again, I became a leader, I became a pillar, and left a legacy. And I owned the company for 5 years from October 25th, 2017 to November 2023. And I sold that company and then moved to Mexico. And what I learned during, early on in my career was business was my weakness. I didn't have anybody teaching me, telling me, showing me how to do it. I had to learn on my own. So I said to myself early on, I'm going to make this my expertise. And I just so happen to love it. And I think the reason why I love it is because I'm going to give it to the people who don't have the conversations or don't have the acumen and know-how and teach them how. And I did the same thing with, and everything that I do. And so it has followed me along the way. It's really a rinse and repeat process. I'm just doing it differently. And I think that it's important as people and as women, if you want to be viable and a contender in your industry, you have to learn how to reinvent yourself, because otherwise, what are you here for? You have to be a forever student, and you also have to learn how to reinvent yourself. Now with social media and now with AI, it's just so many things are happening. And if you aren't being a forever student, then you're going to be missing out on opportunities that can not only elevate you, but help other people at the same time.
I absolutely 100% agree. I love when you started everything off and you were like, I failed a lot. It was a lot of errors, trial and error. Like, that is the honesty that I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what I love about you, because a lot of people have a veil up. They don't want anyone, like, whatever they project, that's what it is. They want other people to see, but that's
Yeah.
not what's happening behind the scenes in order to make a person successful. And so just listening to your journey and how you started off in the 2000s from the doula phase and mastering that. And I think that's what really created your archetype or your system of the way
Mhm.
that you're going to be, and how you spoke about you are going to take this business thing that I don't know much about and master it. Because if I master that, then everything else can take off. And that's kind of like your blueprint. If I could,
It is.
yeah, where you started, you were like, okay, Tracie's going to do this. And then she doesn't like glass ceilings. She busts through those. She don't like boxes, none of that. The conventional ways of doing things, she's going to do it Tracie's way. So
Absolutely.
you were commended. You have your own day, which is the big ups, of course, in Oakland, especially for that topic. I'm very sensitive to that. I do like advocacy works on the side for sex trafficking. So I was surprised. That's something new I learned about you today. I'm always learning something new anyway, but kudos for that. And just, I think in your journey, you really learned to perfect and hone what it is that you wanted to master. And you got really, really clear based off of what I just heard early on. A lot of times they take time to get clear about what they want to do. You may not be perfect at it, but they
Mhm.
may take time to be like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know. No, you were like, I want to do this. I'm going to figure out how to do it along the lines of where my growth is going. And then from building one business and then selling that and then moving into a new business and then teaching people. So I can see how the journey progressed through. So I wanted to also ask, because I know that's your memoir behind you, and everything I do is like memoir based. How did that come about to write that memoir and really like put your expression of about the doula industry or the birthing industry, I should say, if that's the correct terminology, and your perspective that you come from a BIPOC, a Black woman, because you were breaking through barriers in your
Mhm.
industry in order for you to even put something like this into writing. So, how did you come about the memoir process? What made you want to start? And, like, yeah, let's start there. What made you want to create the memoir?
It was my 45th gift to myself for my 45th birthday. And the year that I was turning 45, I decided to embark upon that journey. Little did I know that it was going to take 2 years, and that's average. Um, so, and I worked with somebody on my book. And for me, even though I'm a writer and even though I have history as a writer, writing for one medium is very different from writing a book or a novel or a memoir. Very different. And even though I'm still in the writing space, but differently, they're so different. And so I did not go about special delivery. Let me get it. I did not go about this book alone. It was it's really a story to little Black girls who are told or who are unassuming that they cannot. And so that is what this book was written of, in mind for the little girls who think that they can't. And when I tell you, even though I work with somebody on my book, you still have to write yourself. You still have to edit yourself. And it was because it's a memoir and it's a journey. And then at the end of it, it's really about me brokering major deals with, I think Walmart was the one that was mentioned in the book. Um, it brought up a lot of things that were lying dormant. And that's one thing that I was not prepared for when I was like, like childhood traumas that are in there because I was a teen mom and there's so many other traumatic journeys that one of my cousins read the book and she was like, this is sad. And I was like, I can't help it. That's just my life. I'm not saying that my life is sad, but that has been my journey in the early phase of my life. And then at the end, it's triumphant, but you gotta get there at least at the end of the book because I'm definitely not at the end of my journey. So it started out as a gift to myself. Little did I know it would take me on the journey that it did because I wasn't prepared for that. I remember being on a plane. We had to be. I don't know where I was going. I don't know where I was going, but I was editing. Like I was in there editing. And then I remember Honey took me on a trip to the Smoky Mountains. And, she was like, here, you can just write. And she went and did her thing. And I'm just in the room writing, or I'm downstairs just writing or editing and going over stuff. And it was like, whew, okay. But it did teach me that, some things that I'm a master at, I don't want to be a master at, which is letting things lie dormant and not dealing with them. Because I do have this unfortunate, strong persona to many at times. That's not who I am in its entirety. I'm one of the girls who cries in the dark. Like, you'll never know. Like, I don't ever wear my emotions on my sleeve. And so, but that book, I was like, girl, were you sure? And when I learned too and I often forget that I've written a book. And I think that's why I have it there, not only as product placement, but also as a reminder to me, because I think that was something that I needed to get out. I needed to get out of my system. And now I have two more in my head that I'm kind of lightweight working on. One of them is a trilogy, and the other one is a self-help. So two different genres.
I love it. I am, as soon as you said I wasn't expecting this, what you went through, I was like, I know what that feels like because oftentimes that's usually the hardest part, right? You can write about other things, but when you write about yourself,
Mm.
the everything comes out. It's like, and some things you feel like I need to censor, other things you're like, okay, I'm ready to face this. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, not letting it lie dormant. You were ready to step up to the plate and be like, okay, this is for more than myself. This is for legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the little black girl who doesn't believe that she could. And
Mm-hmm.
Tracie did it, and Tracie's going to show you that you can. So I could just imagine. And you were in the Smoky Mountains writing this book.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful place. And
it is.
yeah, I could
It
just
was,
imagine.
it was beautiful.
It is. And the memoir journey in general is something that you said it took you 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I could see that taking 2 years. Sometimes people take, it takes a person a lifetime. And
Mm-hmm.
because they have to circle through so many things. And then when I work with women, I tell them about, like, the first exercise I usually give is, I need you to go and take some photographs, like old photographs. Just start looking through things. I don't want you to write anything down, because it doesn't even start from writing, it starts from within. Those
Mm-hmm.
old photographs, for some reason, that's what makes people get emotional. Like, looking at the past, like you said, you have your book there, and I'm so happy. I hope you keep your book there, like, because those are things, Tracie, you have accomplished so much in your life. And oftentimes, because we're so busy, that's why I was like, we need to be grounded in the present. We forget about those milestones that we achieved.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes life may get to a point where it could be a struggle that you're navigating through, and you're like, well, I know that I know how to get through this. But then if you remember something along your timeline that you did, it helps to propel you forward, like, okay, bet I got the answer for this now. Let's move forward with that. But I just love the fact that you took the time out to write yourself. That's also something that I appreciate, women who actually sit down and write themselves, as opposed to, you do have help with a ghostwriter if you use one, or an editor, but
Mm-hmm.
writing it initially yourself is really where the power is, because you get to talk about and reconcile even within yourself the things that you haven't even addressed yet. So I
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that you did all of those things to prepare yourself to create this book and create this journey. And so you've learned so many different things, and you've already given some gems about your process and your journey to where you are now. So if you could give us one of the greatest lessons that you've learned along the way.
Um, just to clarify, I did work with a ghostwriter, but I worked with a black woman, number one, and she was the one that handed me it back to me. So it put me in, I was writing, I felt like I had a writing partner in it. And I'm so grateful that I did. And she operated that way, because I learned so much. It wasn't like, here's my life on audio, you go and write it. That was not my experience. It really was, okay, Tracie, based on our conversations here, now you add in, or you go. And so I was still in the thick of it, like really in the thick of it. But I'm grateful for, someone like yourself that I had along the way, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, I did not know. And to self publish is a whole nother thing. So I was like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. But for this one, I'll do a self publishing, and I understanding the difference between a self publishing and a publishing deal. And so it's a lot of things that I did not know. And it's a different industry, but I love intellectual property. I love creating intellectual property. I understand the power of intellectual property. That's why I stay in the business space, because when you create intellectual property, you can market it, you can license it, you can sell it, and you have a voice, and it's yours, and you can choose how you want that voice, or that level of property distributed amongst the world. And that is power. And that is money, and that is relationships. I'm getting ready. I know this isn't the question, but I'm getting ready to create a licensing component in my leadership community to teach other women to be business coaches, but under my framework. So I understand the machine. And so, what was your question?
Yeah, just the greatest lesson. And you're going along the lines. You understand how to utilize, protect, and
Oh,
preserve intellectual property. And
yeah.
that is something that's so important. And then the distinction between that you mentioned self publishing and traditional publishing, how to work out the deals, what you get for yourself. And I,
Right. That was a
that is a
surprise.
major world. Like it's
That was a surprise. Now, I will say for people who are building a brand and building a large platform, self-publishing is definitely the way to go because you own everything. I mean, you can still publish with major publishing companies, but if you are really about your brand and about ownership in total, I would highly recommend self-publishing.
touche. I agree because it cuts out a lot of the bureaucracy too, the red tape and
Yeah.
all of that. You just direct to consumer. You get your
Yep.
proceeds. So you don't have to worry about renegotiating every year for your voice, whatever it is that may come with it. And also, this is not a knock to traditional publishing because I do love the concept. And for years,
Mhm.
people die for publishing deals. But it's also like the music industry, the arts industry, whatever it is,
Mhm.
your intellectual property is yours to protect and preserve. And you have
Mhm.
to figure out as an owner how you are going to utilize it in the public. And if someone does take your work or your information, this is why I don't recommend people putting all of their information in like AI services, but that's another conversation. Like
Mhm.
you can use it to
Mhm.
help you plan, but if you're going to dump all your intellectual property in there, you're just giving it away in some regards because there's
Mhm.
no safeguards. But back to the topic at hand, that concept of protecting your intellectual property is
Yeah.
so important. And a lot of people don't know that. They learn that lesson so late in
Mhm.
life after they have been taken advantage of. They don't even realize it because the people who know they use that to take advantage of people. So kudos to
Yeah.
you for learning the process, for licensing in the leader platform now, what you're trying to do. I think that is, I think that's really an under, it's like a hidden thing that a lot of people don't know that is truly valuable. And
Mhm.
what I wanted to pivot to is because you are also a writer, you mentioned that you write in different lanes and then you had to switch to
Mhm.
memoir writing in order to write the memoir. But I
Mhm.
did hear you mention one point in time that you were a screenwriter. So,
Mhm.
or playwright. I'm not sure between the two, like what's the correct
Both.
terminology. So you're both. Okay.
It's
So if you
both.
could tell us a little bit about that journey or that process or what inspires you in that space.
Well, my dad, so what people don't know about me is that my first love is arts and entertainment. And I am a creative at heart. That's why I can create businesses. It's because it's a form of creativity. Um, and got into arts and entertainment at the age of 9 years old, going to American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. Every Saturday, I was going to acting classes, and my dad would, take me to acting classes. And that's where my love for the industry began. And it's like been a pain point of mine, bane of my existence. I'll get to that. But so my dad was a playwright, and he had theatrical productions that would happen from LA to the Bay, and so I saw it firsthand, and so I just did it. I just did it, and it was somebody who came up to me or who met me, and he's still to this day a good friend of mine. So I was the writer producer and he was the director of all of my productions. And I think I did 5 in the Bay, but I started out with Eve Enzer's A Vagina Monologue, but I made it ours. So it was a V monologues, a Black woman's interpretation. So I took what her monologues were, but I rewrote them. And they didn't, for some reason, care about the licensing component, but I rewrote them to speak to us and our journey and our story. And I had a cast of 14, and I acted and performed it in as well, produced it, self-funded it, all of the things. And it just went from there. And the final one that I did in the Bay was a cold piece of work, and it was about sex trafficking and organ trafficking epidemic amongst Black people. And because we were in Oakland, I centered it in Oakland. And that was the one that I was awarded the proclamation for. And it was so funny because one day, I don't know what I was doing, but a friend of mine sends me a screenshot, and I'm like, what's this? And at the top of it, it's the most influential people to come out of Oakland. So I'm listed amongst like Mahershala Ali. I mean, is that's his last name? Mahershala Ali,
That's it.
like
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler. Like I'm like, and all of these like who else is in there? I know Tom Hanks is one because he went to Skyline High School. So I was like, oh my goodness. And so my journey has been really interesting. So along the way, so with that, that's the stage production piece. And writing for theater is very different from writing for television. Theater is very animated, so and very loud, very animated, and it's intense. And I love theater because that's where you get your acting chops in. Because when those curtains pull back, it's go time. There ain't no stopping. And then that's where you learn to trust your partner, your scene partner. And it also, you learn so much just about staging, production, putting things together. I learned so much. But then transitioning into writing for television, it's like, okay, everything is dumbed down. You have to rely on action and your face. And so, and the writing is very, I don't know what I want to say. It's just different. It's kind of like you can kind of take the Shonda Rhimes scandal methodology that's heavily monologue and fast pace and sequence, or you can do like a completely different, comedy style writing. And so very different styles, and learning which medium that you fit in when you're writing said, I don't want to say production, but, when you're writing for TV. And that industry is so heavily gate kept that all of their mandates when they come out every year are, you just never know. And unfortunately, the way it is with Black people, there always is just one. So last year we had Sinners. So hoping that it makes way, but it's even the Black people in the industry don't want to mess up their position. So for them to lend a hand or extend backwards, like I know Ava DuVernay, she has Arai, and then Lena Waithe has Hillman, and then Issa Rae, she has is it color creative. So that's their way of like putting programs and structures in place to bring back or bring up other people along the way. But even still, like they are facing their own barriers. Ava always talks about the funding barrier. And she's a historian. So she's a storyteller. That's a historian. And then Lena Waithe talks about like the everyday life and what's happening now in different ways. You have the Shy, and you have like she did 20s, she's done and then Issa Rae is kind of like the quirky Black girl and finding her way. It's just an interesting field, and it's none of them are any easier than the other. They're just different. And when you have to learn how to write for them, but also how it's going to show up, because theater shows up very differently than television. Television shows up very differently. And having it play out in your head beforehand so you know how to write it, and not only write it, but also not only cast it, but you have to look at it from a production standpoint versus versus like a crew standpoint. So there's a cast and crew, and location plays a lot to do with it. And the reason why with television is very different writing for, you can't have a lot of locations because it adds to the budget. It's a whole thing. And so having to compare between the three, which one do I prefer? I would honestly say it's easier writing a book.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were going to say play, because I love plays. In my,
I do
I
too.
guess, former
I do
life, I must
too.
have been a thespian or something. Like, I love it. I go to so many different places.
I love
It's my
play.
happy place because I get to
Mhm.
like escape into that world for that time period. It's amazing. And I love
Mhm.
how you know, like, the differences and you've been able to like work between those different things versus writing in different ways. It's almost like your brain goes into a switch like, okay, I'm writing for
Mhm.
this or I'm writing for this, so I know I have to take this into account. It's the
Mhm.
ultimate multitasking thing because most writers that you meet, they either have one or two lanes at the most, and they can't like expand outside of that. And it seems
Mhm.
like your ability to be starting off with the creativity that you learned from your dad, all the way up until like all of the things that you've created, that creative energy is just what's fueling your success, like
Mhm.
all the way through. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing, it's just dressed differently, basically.
Absolutely.
So that's what it seems like has
Absolutely
been
dressed different.
reoccurring theme. You got the blueprint and you got the thing running through where you are now. So I wanted to ask about the vagina monologues because I love that play as well. The original, I haven't seen yours. I would love if you have another production of it to know about that. But because you were a doula and you were in that space as an industry leader, was that as a result of that you said you wanted to create it, or did that happen like prior to like you creating that play?
It was just in the midst of my career. Like I transitioned, I started out as a doula, then I transitioned into midwifery.
Okay.
And because I've worked with women my entire career has been based around women. Women are afraid of their vaginas. And to me, like when you're afraid of your vagina, you're afraid of your own power. And midwifery, I always tell people, midwifery changed my life. It changed my life in the sense of how I look at myself, how I look at women, how I look at our anatomy, the things that I know. Like it completely changed my life, how I understand nutrition. It just changed everything, how I understand sex, how I look at nature is another thing because everything just duplicates the feminine. Um, it just changed everything for me. So the play was just a part of my career. I think I did that the first production in 2013, and I just kept going. I think I did two or three additional because it kept getting called back. People were like, "Well, wait a minute, we heard about it, but now we want to see it. Is she bringing it back?" So I think I did two or three, and no, it was three more back to back. I did them, back to back. Yeah, it was just a part of it. But I mean, everything looks like a vagina to me because of my work. It just does. Like I can go out in nature. I was like, yeah, it looks like a vagina. Or this flower. It's just everything. That's just because of how I made. But it taught me the power of women. It taught me the power of women. When you educate a woman, you educate a nation. And that's why I spend so much time educating women and focusing on women. And I have daughters, but even with my son, he understands the power of women. And it just, when you center the matriarchy, your life is better.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why we're in a free for all now, is because it's not centered.
Exactly. I love the fact that you are open about sexuality. A lot of people, I
Mhm.
have to reserve my conversations with them because they don't understand and recognize the power in that, and they
Mhm.
don't fully embrace it. Because if you tap into that, I'm not saying you got to be, sexy everywhere you go, but, and it's more than just being sexy. It's about learning where the seat of your power lies, where you draw from this creative energy. And I think that learning that now that I'm just getting like a download, it feels like you tapping into that power of the feminine early on in life is really what opened up a lot of doors for you. Because a lot of women, like I mentioned, they're afraid to have the conversations about our vaginas. What is the
Mhm.
labia? Like, what are the different parts of your vagina internally and externally? Because the vagina is not the external parts of it. And all these different layers that we have as women, just even do you know what you look like down there or
Mhm.
whatever it is? Like, do you know what something feels off? All of these different things, I feel
Mhm.
like you learning that is what allows you to liberate women, as you mentioned, because
Yeah.
a lot of women are very reserved. And we understand because we have traumas that come from that.
And
And
religion.
exactly, exactly. And so breaking through that barrier is that's why I love like listening to your conversations, because oftentimes you're like your level of freedom is beyond like what a lot of people are. They're afraid to like touch that. They're like, yeah, I know I should be over here. And once you be over there, you're free. You're
You know, there's no going back.
you can't like you can't just be
Mhm.
like, okay, I learned this, but I can unlearn it. You can't
Mhm.
limit yourself anymore. You
Mhm.
can't. And I think that's a major also lesson that I learned from your life, and just observing how your ability to be free and emotionally like mature about subjects that other people would feel afraid to broach, your ability to do that and just be like, it's something casual because you've already mastered it. I think a
Mhm.
lot of women would really do well to take away a good lesson from that. So, if you
Thank
had
you.
like any other final words of inspiration for the women listening, whether they are creating a business, going into screenwriting, whatever it is along your journey and your path that has brought you to the place that you are today as Tracie Collins, if you have any final words of inspiration or wisdom, what would that be?
Trust your gut. Trust your intuition. Trust your internal guide. When you don't wait till it does not look right to know that it's not right. If it doesn't feel right, because your body is going to tell you, your nervous system is going to tell you before your naked eye will see it. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Let your intuition be your guide. Open up your sacral chakra, because that's where your creative energy is and lies, and everything that you want to bring forth into the world. You know, so making sure that you are paying attention to that stagnant energy. Um, you know, moving, meditating, yoga, like those are ways that you can just easily start tapping into your intuition, because women have their voices have been taught or have been suppressed on purpose. They have been suppressed for religious reasons. They have been suppressed by patriarchal reason. They have been suppressed by design. And to begin to break out of that, it's you have to pour back into yourself, and you have to increase your voice, your internal voice. You have to listen to that, because it's a whisper and then it screams. And you have to learn to listen to the whispers so you don't ever have to get to a scream.
Powerful. There was one thing when you were speaking that just popped into my mind. I know that's I said I was that was going to be the
That's
last,
okay.
but the aspect, because you what you're so good at, like I mentioned before, you'll tell someone if you have an expensive hobby versus you actually have a viable business. Like
Mhm.
for women who are stressing themselves out in business and they're not really succeeding, or they're not getting the results or deliverables that they thought they would get, how would you tell them to stop stressing, or what advice would you give for them to recognize that they need to have some form of rest? Like how do they mix business with that wellness aspect that you do so well?
Um, Lean into the rest, because rest is going to provide you clarity. Rest is going to rest is productive. So really leaning into that, even if you have to schedule it, scheduling the downtime, strengthening your boundaries is going to be essential too. But not getting the results that nobody is going to ever come out getting the results they think they deserve. You have to almost like earn it. You have to prove you deserve to be in the space that even though you may know it, but everybody else may not. And the higher you go, it's going to require a new birth of you, a new version of you. So you're going to have to, again, step into the light of, let me see if you deserve to be here. And every elevated version is going to require a different version of you. So meaning that a previous version of you that has gotten you to where you are has to die. So letting go and shedding, and it could be letting go of certain characteristics. It could be letting go of an environment. It could be letting go of people. It could be letting go of a job. It could be letting go of a country. It could be letting go of so many different ways. But the only way you're going to know is, again, to listen to your intuitive guide. You cannot expect more, but still want to hold on to the current situation. Something has to go in order for you to elevate, just like a plane. A plane can't take off overweighted. It has to be the proper proportion in order to even begin to ascend so you can glide. And so it's just a whole mechanics behind that. And that's what I would, have to lead with, because you're not going to get the results that you think you deserve offhand. But keep showing up. Keep showing up. And in the show up, your message is going to get tighter. Your branding is going to get stronger. Your core audience is going to find you. You'll become even more polished and know what to say, and your systems will start to get refined. All of that happens in the showing up phase when you think that nobody is paying attention. It's the iceberg analogy. The tip of the iceberg is what everybody wants to experience, but nobody wants to do what's underneath the water. It's that real thing that's holding it up, that foundation. And so the more that you stay in this space, the better your ascension is going to be, and it's going to last. That's the thing. It's like, are you building something that is going to be here today, gone tomorrow, or are you building something that is a legacy? Legacy is long. So when we think about the people that we don't admire, like the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers, that was built decades and centuries. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not the biggest brands have decades behind them. So who are we to think that, well, we come out and we put up a post or we do a YouTube video or we put out a blog, that everybody is just going to gravitate towards it? No, it just doesn't work that way.
100% agree. I feel myself in those things. I feel other women I've witnessed. And then just listening to however many stories I have heard from people starting out. That's why I always like to get the origin story of how a thing starts out, because if a person tells you that they don't have an origin story, they were just born into greatness, even if they were a wealthy child or whatever, I don't believe it, because everyone has some kind of background or history that brought them to progression, especially specifically in business as women. So thank you so much for that, Tracie. Anyone listening, you already heard it. I feel like, to sum it all up, is basically, you're, as a business owner, you're going through, or a person in life, you're going through a process of living and dying. You're shedding the things that are dying, but you're living and you're growing and you're building and you're expanding. So hopefully that helps. If you're stressed out, learn how to reinforce those boundaries, like Tracie said, and get into the wellness as well. That will help you tremendously to prove yourself showing up as a business owner. So thank you so much, Tracie. This conversation has been it's relaxing for me, because especially my favorite part was the memoir, and then learning about the different parts of your writing process, because that's what I love doing. And just seeing how you were able to navigate different spaces, and really your mind works continuously. And I know that you have those future things coming up. So I am so grateful to have you here, giving your wisdom to my audience, my growing audience. And before we wrap up, if you could share any website or program that you'd like to share with women who are listening, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you if they want more of what you have to offer?
The best way to connect with me is my website, which is Tracie Collins Official. It's TRACIE. One of my pet peeves is misspelling my name, so please be sure to spell my name right. .com. So Tracie Collins Official is my website, and then social media is Tracie Collins. YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok is Black Girl CEO in Mexico. So but the best way to really find out the programs that I have going on, from how to work with me directly or how to join my leader community, is getting into going onto my website and signing up in the email community. That is the best absolute way to find out how to work with me on a more in-depth level, and to take your business from building to scaling to selling and creating an actual asset that pays you so you can leave a legacy behind.
Beautiful. So I'll make sure to put all of the links in the description box below, so it's easy for you to find Tracie's links and information. And also to my lovely community, if this conversation has touched your heart, please click that like button, subscribe to turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of these future powerful conversations. And also share this message with a woman who needs to hear this today. And if you're looking to continue these kinds of conversations, I invite you to join the lovely community, which is our free sanctuary space where women of color gather for inspiration, sisterhood, and support. The link will also be in the description box below. So let us know in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway from Tracie's journey to from where she started in Oakland to where she is now in Mexico. Thank you so much for being here, Tracie. And until next
Yeah.
time, remember that you are and will always be a lovely inspiration.
Thank you.